wife, father, James, PhD, permanent head damage, so doctorate, PhD, permanent head damage. Before father said he went around to looking for a barber. So I was wondering, does he need enough because not much hair to cut, And he's very specialized with particular thing that he will interest himself. So without you, let's welcome Father Dr. Roy. Darius, invite Darius to say a prayer.
Okay. Let's remember that we are always and ever in the presence of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, thank you all for gathering us all here today as a parish. Thank you that you have given us this blessing and gift of having such an esteemed person talk to us about your law. Thank you that we are given this special opportunity to learn more about you and get closer to you. May we benefit from this session 100-fold. May we ever grow in your love. May we obey your laws thoroughly and faithfully and benefit from this session. Make this prayer through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
So today is the 23rd of May, the eve of the Feast of Holy Spirit, and the Parish of Queen of Peace. We welcome Father Roy. Give us this lecture. Thank you, Father.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. So first of all, I thank your new parish priest, Timothy, for giving this wonderful opportunity to be of some service to you, that you may know about the law of the church a little more. For some of you, this is the first time, I believe, that you have a class or lecture on canon law. There are very few people on Wednesday evening, no? Who are those who are already present on Wednesday evening here? Only two of you. Okay. All right. I am very happy. So, canon law is such a vast subject. Sometimes it is more dangerous to know of law than knowing no law at all. You know to cut, but you don't know to stitch. So I don't know where to begin and where to end, but still I have to start somewhere, and then more I will focus on marriage problems and how the church looks at family and marriage, regulates the life. Then we will take up other topics. So because of the shortage of time, we could not have many lectures. Actually, Father Timothy intended a series of lectures. The amount permission came only Tuesday. So that's why I could not talk to you earlier. But before that, certain basic notions about canon law. First of all, canon law. We should know to spell the word correctly. Canon law. The word canon itself comes, the word canon comes from the Greek word kanonum or kanone, means it is a measuring rod. A carpenter uses a measuring rod. The weaver uses. The mason uses. Literally, the word canon is a measuring rod. It is something that makes a line straight. So also later on it began to be used for a norm of action, for a rule of life. This is how the word canon came. Originally we have the word canon in this way. But later the original word in Greek for law is nomos. Nomos is the word for civil law. So from the 4th century onwards, they started using canon law for church law and nomos is the usual word for civil law. That's why the law of the church is called canon law. Canon law is church law. You know, the word canon is used more or less with related meanings for other things. For example, the canon of the Mass, that means the prescribed prayer for the Mass. The canonical books of the Scriptures, those books that are declared as inspired by the Holy Spirit. A saint who is canonized means who is included in the list of saints. Canon is also a priest in the cathedral church. Like that we have the word canon used so many places, but when we speak of canon law, this is it. So one of the basic things is canon law. Where does it come from? First of all, the first and most important source of canon law is the sacred scriptures. Sacred scriptures are the first and most important source of canon law. Sometimes people think, oh, Bible says we don't need any law. You canonists are multiplying law and burdening people. That's what people say. As Timothy always says, people love mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, but nobody loves canon law, father. Anyhow, you can have some class. So, the source of all canon law is Bible only. That's why while promulgating the law, the Holy Father very clearly said that there is no contradiction between canon law and the Bible. That you should first of all believe. I asked one of our young students who can read better what the Holy Father said, this paragraph. You can give the mic to them instead of listening to my voice again and again. Who will read well? No, don't worry. Even if you make mistakes, no problem. I will show that part of it. Okay. A second question arises, yes, from that onwards.
A second question arises. What is the code? For an accurate answer to this question, it's necessary to remind ourselves of that distant heritage of law contained in the books of the Old and New Testaments. It is from this, as from its first source, that the whole juridical and legislative tradition of the Church derives.
See how the Holy Father says, it is from the Bible that the whole juridical heritage of the Church is derived. As you know, Old Testament itself was called Law and the Prophets. Law and the Prophets. So the Bible is the ultimate source of law. Continue.
For Christ the Lord in no way abolished the bountiful heritage of the law.
Christ the Lord in no way abolished the multiple heritage of the law. There only the Holy Father quotes, I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. Matthew 5:17. Continue.
And the prophets, which grew little by little from the history and experience of the people of God in the Old Testament. Rather, he fulfilled it so that it could, in a new and more sublime way, lead to the heritage of the New Testament. Accordingly, although St. Paul, in expounding the mystery of salvation, teaches that justification is not obtained through the works of the law, but through faith.
Continue.
None other the less, he does not exclude the binding force of the Decalogue.
Okay, enough. You have the book there only. From there also you can read, yeah? Okay. Now, see, Holy Father John Paul II, who promulgated the new code, clearly said that there is no contradiction between Bible and canon law. No contradiction. He cites a number of passages in support of his argument. He says, Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Do not misquote Paul to say that Bible is against all law. Even Paul himself stressed the importance of discipline in the church. You should understand the context in which Paul opposed the works of the law. When people said we don't need faith, we don't need the grace of God to be justified. In that context, Paul wanted to emphasize the importance of faith and grace. And in the next paragraph, the Holy Father says, it is not the purpose of canon law to replace faith, grace, charism, above all charity in the life of the church. It is not at all the purpose of canon law to replace faith, grace, charism, above all charity. Rather, canon law helps orderly development of faith, grace and charism. Then he says in another paragraph in the same document, the code of canon law is absolutely necessary for the church because church was established by Christ on earth as a visible society. We have a Latin saying, ubi societas ibi ius. That means wherever there is society, there is law. Wherever there is society, there is law. Ubi societas ibi ius. Ubi means, that's very interesting. Ubi societas ibi ius. Ubi societas ibi ius. So some of my young students are interested in Latin. I am very happy. Yesterday on altar boy said, Father, you said ut unum sint, that there may be one. So he wanted to write it. I was so much edified by some of our friends here. So ubi societas ibi ius. That means wherever there is society, there is law. Why are you against law? Imagine a Singapore without traffic rules and regulations. So how awful it would be. So also church is a society. That is the first reason. We need law. Don't oppose the law. We need to have order. Law regulates relationship. Each one has rights and obligations. People should be helped to exercise their rights and fulfill their obligations. How can you exercise your rights if you don't have law, rights and obligations? If you take the canon law, it gives number of places what are the rights and obligations. Afterwards, if not, you read other parts of the code. You read at least those passages which speaks about the right and obligation. For example, Canon 208 to 223. Rights and obligations of all Christ faithful. Rights and obligations of all Christ faithful are mentioned there, like a charter of rights. The new canon law gives it. Again, Canon 224 to 231. So these speak about the rights and obligations of lay members of Christ faithful. Lay members of Christ faithful. You not only have as all Christ faithful, as laity, what are your special obligation and rights? And then you have in the Canon 273 to 289, you have what are the rights and obligations of clerics. Clerics, as you know, are deacons, priests and bishops. So what are the rights and obligations of clerics? Religious, 662 to 672. What are the obligations of the religious, the sisters, the consecrated persons? So everywhere it is given, these are your rights and obligations. Know your rights. Fulfill your obligations in the church. In addition, individual office holders are also accorded rights and obligations in the law of the church. So, if you study canon law, you will know all this. So, law regulates relationship. Then the Holy Father says, Christ entrusted to each and every one of us the threefold functions. Threefold functions. That is the teaching, sanctifying, and the shepherding or governing function. To exercise it fully, in an orderly manner, we need laws. For example, what are the functions of the parish priest? Canon 528 and 529. If you read, you can question Father Timothy. What, Father Timothy, you are not doing all this. 528, teaching function, sanctifying function, governing function. Sometimes when I say, we did not know that parish priest has to do all this, especially pastoral function, visiting families. Read Canon 529, at least the pastoral function, first paragraph. Many parish priests are not doing it. The poor, the sick, all of them have to be taken care of. 529, yes?
So that
okay, yes.
So that he may fulfill his office of pastor diligently.
Diligently, yes. Yeah.
The parish priest is to strive to know the faithful.
Know the faithful. How many parishioners you can call by name? Sometimes people say sheep stealing. Sheep stealing. You don't know your sheep. Then they joined our Pentecostal movement. Then you say, first of all, you did not know them. That's why they have gone. The sheep that you were supposed to know, you did not know. That's why somebody has stolen. That's it. No, strive to know the faithful, yes.
Entrusted to his care. He is therefore to visit their families,
Visit their families,
sharing in their cares and anxieties,
sharing in their cares and anxieties, yes.
and in a special way, their sorrows,
Their sorrows. Share in their sorrows, yes.
comforting them in the Lord. If in certain manners they are found wanting, he is prudently to correct them.
He must correct them. So parish priest has the obligation to correct the people also, yes.
He is to help the sick, and especially to die in great charity.
Yeah, help the sick, deal with the dying with charity, everything is given there. So okay. Just a canon 529 paragraph 1 on the pastoral office of the parish priest. 528 paragraph 1 teaching office of the parish priest. 528 paragraph 2 sanctifying office of the parish priest. The threefold functions of the parish priest are given there. Father, it is said in the canon law itself like that you are not following it. Then why do you want us to follow? Sometimes some people will say also. So it is necessary. For example, many in India also are unaware of canon law. Say for example, a canon like 537. It is binding for the whole church, whole Catholic Church. 537 on the parish finance council. It is obligatory, it says, there is no exception. Very big parish, small parish, there must be a parish finance council. Read that canon 537.
In each parish, there is to be a finance committee.
There is to be, not there may be, there can be, it is recommended, nothing. In each parish, there is to be a finance committee. For example, Singapore Archdiocese cannot say, we need not have a finance council in our parishes. No, they cannot say. Because a lower legislator cannot make a law which is contrary to the higher legislator, that is the Pope. In each parish, there is to be a finance committee. What is its role?
To help the parish priest in the administration of the goods of the parish.
Yes, to help the parish priest in the administration of the goods of the parish. I am saying, when you know the law only, then you can fight for justice. You can fight for your rights. Better to know. Otherwise we will be enslaved. We will be slaves only. Slaves only. Okay. We did not take the canon. I am saying canon law. So to know the rights and obligations, to exercise the teaching ministry and the sanctifying ministry and the governing ministry. Imagine if there are no laws, anybody will teach anything and everything. One will say Jesus is in the Eucharist, another will say Saint Anthony is in the Holy Eucharist. They may say completely opposite thing. One will celebrate Mass with bread and wine, another with some other soup or anything. He may celebrate Mass. So like that, disorder will be there. One will baptize with the water, another will baptize with petrol if there is no law. So it will be a big problem. So it seems in the seminary, the professor asked the student, can we baptize with soup, brother, during the final examination? The brother said, it depends, father. What it depends? He should have said, no, you cannot baptize with soup, you should baptize only with water. Then, why do you say it depends? He said, it's if the brother wanted to teach the priest a lesson, because the priests were taking special food, good soup. Well, seminarians did not get so well. So he said, if it is father's soup, you cannot baptize. If it is brother's soup, you can baptize. That means you fellows are taking very good soup. You don't bother about what we are eating. He wanted to communicate to them the lesson. So like that. Okay. That's why then to regulate the works of apostolate, there are different religious congregations, so many lay movements. There should be some law for regulation. Otherwise, you will have 10 convents in the same street fighting with each other. Regulate the work of apostolate, to coordinate. That's why it is given the code of canon law is absolutely necessary for the church, the Holy Father said. So, leaving that aside, I said it all started with the scriptures. What is the history in a few minutes? What I teach for so many hours, I want to give you in a few minutes. Second source after the scripture is the writings, early Christian writings. There are some important books like Didache. With the internet you can find the content of all these. Then there is Didascalia Apostolorum. You You need not memorize these books and all, no need. Then apostolic constitutions. So like this, some of the early Christian writings before the 4th century, or the 5th century, these books came. So many disciplinary norms were there. As you know, in the history of the church, there were bishops gathered at different levels, which we called councils. Bishops gathered at the regional level, national level, universal level. They discussed not only doctrinal points, but also disciplinary points. The canons of the councils, or the decisions of the councils, was another source. Then whenever bishops had doubt, they wrote to Pope. Pope wrote a letter in response, clarifying their doubt. That was called a decretal. Decretal is a letter of the Pope to this. So in course of time, they collected all the canons of the councils, they collected all the letters, these became the law. And then finally, we had a mass of legislation. I don't want to go into detail, that's not important for you. For the first time, in 1904, Pope Pius X wanted to have a complete law for the whole Latin Church. Complete law. Then he started the work, and afterwards Pope Benedict 15th succeeded. Finally, in 1917, a comprehensive code, the old canon law, CIC it is called, Codex Iuris Canonici, was promulgated. It had 5 books and 2,414 canons. 2,414 canons. It was promulgated on Pentecost this day, 1917, and came into effect 1918 Pentecost. Then the Pope, who is that, John the 23rd. John 23rd said this law is not up to date. So not only he announced Vatican Council, but also he announced the revision of the code. So he started the work in 1959. Then Vatican Council in between came. Then the work continued. Finally, in 1983, we have on 25th January, the new code which we have in hand was promulgated. It is divided into 7 books, total canons 1752. 1752 canons are there in the new code. So thus we have 2 code. One is no more in effect. 1983 onwards, first Sunday of Advent onwards, we have the 1983 code which came into existence. And then in addition, you know, Catholic Church is communion of one Latin Church and 23 Eastern Catholic churches. For the Eastern Catholic churches, we have what is called Oriental Canon Law. It is called in short form CCEO. This is divided into 30 titles and 1,546 canons. This is the history of canon law. This came in 1990. 1990, 1st October it was promulgated. 18th October promulgated. Then 1st October 1991 it came into effect. So this is what is canon law. When you hear about canon law, you should know that the church has 2 canon law books. One is Code of 1983 for us Latin Church. The other is 1990, that is for the Eastern Catholic churches. So now I stop. You have any doubt, you can. So before that, one more point. The other day I said, we have the life of the church is incomplete unless you know the sacred scriptures. You know Vatican II. And you know CIC, Latin Code, CCEO, Oriental Code. And of course CCC, Catechism of the Catholic Church, which must include all aspects of it. Vatican II is theology, this is law. If you know 50%, if you know Vatican II, you already know 50% of canon law, because the canon law gives juridical expression to the theological teachings of Vatican II. I just stop. Now I take up questions on any other, this background of canon law. That's very important. Feel free to ask me. There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. I have challenged my students, pre-students in Bangalore, so many priests, at least I would have taught 400 priests canon law already, who are working all over India. So I told them, if ever you provoke me to anger in the class, I will give you a dinner. They never succeeded. In the class. Outside the class, in table tennis, you can make me angry, but not in the class. Okay. Any question? Yes.
Father, what must there be two Canon codes?
What is the?
Why?
Oh, okay. So this is an important. Why should we have one? Why do we not have one code? No. You know the division of the church into East and the West. It goes back to the division of the Roman Empire. In the first millennium, many of them fell into heresy and also broke away from Rome, not only because of doctrinal reasons, but for political reasons. Political reasons. In the first millennium, towards the year 1140, the division was almost complete. The only difference between the Eastern churches and us was that they do not accept the authority of the Pope and the bishops. Otherwise, they have 7 sacraments, same baptism, everything, devotion to Mother Mary, everything. The only thing is, in course of time, these Eastern churches, which had valid priesthood, valid sacraments, they joined the Catholic Church. So, but the difference is they used vernacular, Greek, Syriac in their liturgy more. We used always Latin till the time of Vatican. The other thing is they had more their own discipline and organization governing. So when they rejoined, the Latin Church accepted them subject to the condition that they will be given their own autonomy. So basically with regard to sacraments, there is not much of a difference. With regard to internal governance and certain liturgical practices, there are a few laws. So that's why the church wanted to have 2 different codes. One for the Latin Church. Actually, Latin Church is 98% in the Catholic Communion. Though they are 23 churches, they are only 2%. Even among the 98% of the Latin Catholics, 50% of them are in Latin America. 50% of the Catholics, if by accident Latin America were to be destroyed, the Catholic population in the world will be reduced by half of the person. Thanks be to God that we have a Pope from the Latin American country. So what is the church language? It is not English, it is not Italian, it is not French, it is Spanish. 50% of the Catholics of the Catholic Church speak Spanish. But sometimes we do not know. Spain is there already. All the others except Argentina, all of them are speaking Spanish in the Latin American countries. Sometimes we give so much importance to other languages, not knowing that Spanish is very important. Why? That's why the church wanted to respect the autonomy. There is one document, Orientalium Ecclesiarum Vatican II. In that document of the Vatican II on Eastern churches, we will respect their liturgical heritage, their tradition, their practices. Unity in the essentials, variety, no need of uniformity with regard to their expression. For example, in the Orient, what are the main differences, if you could ask me? One thing is that they have a 3-tier system. Bishop, Patriarch, and then only Pope. For us, immediately after the Bishop, straight away, it is the Pope only. 2-tier system. They say there is more internal democracy or in decision making with regard to this. With regard to sacraments and all, same sacraments, everything. So there was an attempt to have one code, but let us respect, they wanted to have for the first time for all the 23 churches one canon law book. And most of them are same. If you eliminate the common points, differences will be hardly 2%. 2%. That is it. We respect the Eastern churches with regard to their internal governance, and then ultimately they also are subject to the Pope. They are also Catholics. The Catholic Church is a communion of 24 churches. One Latin church or Western church, the other Eastern Catholic churches. In India we have all 3 churches. Latin Church, which is about 70%, the Syro-Malabar and Syro-Malakkaran Church, which are mostly based in Kerala, which is about 30%, because Kerala is highly Catholic. Yes. Out of the 24. Yes.
Eastern churches still recognize the authority of our Pope?
Yes, those ones. See, the Eastern churches, say maybe some 5% of them have come, these 23 churches, maybe 10% or 5% which are part of the Catholic Church. The other 90% have to join the Catholic Church. We are praying for the unity. They also have what we call the so-called Orthodox churches. They all have valid priesthood, valid sacrament, We are praying for their unity. So there is a separate department, congregation for the Oriental churches in Vatican. So that is looking after this unity and also taking care of the Catholic Eastern churches. Non-Catholic Eastern churches are 90% outside. We are hoping that they will come to common ground. They are all looking at how the Catholic Eastern churches are treated within the Catholic communion. That's why we are waiting for them to join. That's it. Anything? Yes.
For the Catholic Eastern churches, right?
Yes.